Ladies and gentlemen, live from down in the Bear Cave Studios, it's a special edition of the Sports Frenzy Podcast, Sold Out, with your hosts, Freddie Eloso and Stevie G. Now, the Sold Out Podcast.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are once again live down here for another episode of the Sports Frenzy Podcast, Sold Out. With me, your host, Freddie Eloso, and with my co-host, Stevie G.
Let's go!
And we have another special edition episode for you guys. I'm going to let Stevie G take it on this one.
Guys, we got from Northeast Wrestling, the Duke of Danger himself, Daniel Evans, is on the show with us. Daniel, thank you for joining us.
Hold on real quick. Let me just say that the following interview will be done in the name of the king, the one true king of professional wrestling, King Brian.
Awesome.
Nice.
King Brian approves. We ready.
We're ready.
We are
down here in the Sports Frenzy Podcast.
And guys, we're getting him less than a week from the Northeast Wrestling Redemption Show from the Mid-Hudson Civic Center. So we're just going to get into things right now.
We are, 4 days removed from it?
Yeah.
It's this Friday. Guys, check it out. We will be in attendance.
Yep.
We will be there.
We got our seats right by the entranceway. We
Yes.
keep saying that because we want to be right on the entranceway.
Yeah, we're ready for this show.
And Mike Lombardi always puts on a great show. We thank him for allowing us to have his wrestlers on the show with us.
Definitely, thank
and we're ready to go. Let's get this interview going. All right, so Daniel, you've been wrestling with Northeast Wrestling for a while.
Duke to you.
What happened?
Before we continue, that's the Duke, not Daniel.
Oh, okay. Okay. I got you, Duke. So what's going on? Like, you've been wrestling with Northeast Wrestling for a while now. You want to tell us some of your background, how you got into wrestling, like wrestling schools, things of that nature?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, a lot of people don't realize I actually started back in 2006. I started down in West Patterson, New Jersey at the IWF Center. And for me, back then, it didn't pan out. Like, I was not who I was supposed to be. And what I mean by that, because I've thought about this quite a bit, I came in there about $160 soaking wet. And that's pretty much actually the same as when Keith Youngblood started. The difference is, for Keith, that's who he was meant to be. For me, I know he's put on size since, and he's going to need that when he faces me. But for me, it was more, I was never supposed to be that. And back then, I didn't have the work ethic that I do now. So being a bigger guy now, that's what I was supposed to be back then, and it never happened. The training that I got down there was solid. I can't knock that at all. So I put 100% responsibility on me for not working out down there. But it led me, eventually I did leave, and it led me eventually to the Northeast Wrestling Training School, the same one that Youngblood went to. And from there, everything has been uphill because I changed. Mentally I changed, physically I changed. I'm bigger now, and I am who I'm supposed to be. So it's been pretty cool, actually, since then. I've continued on with Matt Taven, training at the XWA Wrestling Kingdom, and it's probably been the best move that I've made career-wise, up until, of course, aligning myself with the king, King Brian.
Gotcha.
Now, Duke, what
Game changer.
What gives you that motivation to keep going? We know that wrestling is a grind, and it could be taxing on the body and all that stuff. What gives you the motivation to keep going and striving to be great?
It's something I've always wanted to do. I've wanted to do it since I was a little kid, and I finally grew a pair, to get started. And like I told you, it didn't work out the way I wanted it to at first. But I had a chip on my shoulder. There was a 4-year gap in there where I had a chip on my shoulder, and I knew at some point it had to happen again, but it just had to happen under different circumstances. So I took the time to work on my body, work on my mind, get everything right, and from there it was great. And like I said earlier, it's been all uphill since then, and I really haven't needed any special motivation to continue. It's just something I want to do, and it's worked out great.
Yeah, and I'm just throwing it out there. The Northeast Wrestling shows, they're all over the Northeast, obviously, hence in the name. But I have gone to a number of shows over the last, I've been going for like over 10 years now. In Northeast Wrestling, it's a great show for everyone, families, kids, everyone. And Duke, I've seen you every year because if there's nothing in Orange County or in the area aside from Wrestling Under Stars, I always make sure I make the Wrestling Under Stars at Wappingers Falls. So I've seen you the last couple of years, and I've seen the differences, the growth, everything you're speaking about.
I mean, the fortunate thing for me, I started with Northeast Wrestling in 2014, and you mentioned the Wrestling Under the Stars. I've been fortunate to be on every one since I've been a part of Northeast Wrestling, and that's not easy. To do, and I basically had to scratch and claw for everything that I've gotten so far, and that's why it pains me that Keith Youngblood doesn't see things the same way, and I'm going to go there right now. Keith Youngblood is the one that betrayed me. I'm the one that has the respect for everything that we've gone through, and Keith Youngblood is the one who got the ego. But I appreciate all the comments that you've said to me so far about, my growth, and it's been cool, When I was first there, I was a manager, I think, my first year there, and, then I kind of floundered around till Adrenaline Rush, and, then it's been Adrenaline Rush ever since, and now, hopefully next Wrestling Under the Stars, I get to be side by side with the Lord Anthony Battle and the King Brian.
Yeah, and I just want to say, seeing you guys at Wrestling Under Stars, I know things are over now, but realistically, you guys were a great tag team. They were always a great team to see, high-flying, always put on a great match. The crowd was always into them, and I'm sure you're going to bring that level to, the King and his court and everything. So I definitely see good things coming for this. Now, obviously, we do some research prior. I always try to either look for stories or pictures online, and two pictures I stumbled across. It's probably you from the school, Matt Taven's school. I see one with you, and it's a bunch of the guys with Jim Cornette in the middle. Another one with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Tell us a little about those experiences.
Those are some of the best experiences I feel like you can get in wrestling. Again, I've been fortunate enough to do seminars with them. I've done a seminar with Booker T. I've actually done two with him. I've done seminars with Dr. Tom Pritchard, two with him. I've done seminars with, I even did one with JBL. I've done with quite a few so far. Honky Tonk Man, and they're just some of the greatest experiences that you can find. Actually, Dr. Tom was recently up at the XWA Center, and I missed that one. And once I realized I missed it, I was kind of mad at myself because it's such a great experience, and they all bring something different to the table. You're going to learn something different from each one. And that's the cool thing about wrestling. There's no exact curriculum. You need to take what you can from anybody and learn from your own experiences. And the only way you're going to learn is by making mistakes. And that's a mistake I made to not get there, and I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen again. The pictures that you found online were actually at different facilities. I know that XWA has brought some people in, so it would be cool, hopefully he'll be back there, or maybe some of those guys will be up there soon.
Yeah. Now, out of those experiences with some of those legends, what stuck out? What are some of the things they taught you that, you use every day in the ring, or, whether it's mic work, things like that? What stuck out the most? Is there any, good stories that stick out from working with those legends?
Well, Steamboat, he was pretty hands-on with Keith and I, and he actually gave us our first finisher together, which was pretty cool, because him and Jay Youngblood had used it as well. So that was actually pretty awesome. And then Booker T sticks out in my mind because Booker T, he made it clear that, we all kind of do the same things when we're in there, everyone's going to do a body slam, a clothesline, whatever it is, but it's the stuff that you do in between that makes you who you are. And I felt like that was one thing that was really good with Adrenaline Rush. I felt like whenever we did something, you knew it was us. Besides just watching us, obviously. But if you could watch us with a generic eye, I don't know if that makes any sense, but you watch us with a generic eye, you would still know that it was us. You know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't just move. We had something that I would say not everybody has together.
You guys had your own style.
Great.
What are some of the classic guys that really pulled you into wrestling?
Demolition. Honestly, like, that's the number one team, you know, when I was growing up that I remember vividly. And if you look back, I've been watching some of their stuff recently, just going back, you know, because every once in a while I'll revisit that stuff. And if you watch them, like, the reactions they got, you know, and that run they had, I think their big run basically was like 89 to 91. But my God, like, I feel like you don't hear or see that today, you know, and they were dominant during their time. They were just fun to watch. They connected with everybody, and they turned me into someone that wanted to do this. It was legitimately them and them only that, you know, made me want to do it right off the bat. And then obviously watching wrestling since then, you know, other guys come to mind, of course, you know, but I always like guys like Mr. Perfect, obviously the top names, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, whoever it was, you know, it was just always fun to watch. But, you know, it was really the bigger guys, actually. You know, I was really a big Sid Justice fan back in the day.
Psycho Sid.
I like, you know, Big Daddy Cool Diesel, you know, that was all, that was the stuff I wanted to do. And, like, that's the thing, you know, when I came in, I was too small to do anything even remotely close to what one of those guys might do. And obviously they're like a foot taller than me. But I think you get what I'm saying. You know, it was something that I aspired to be, even if I could never reach that. And I guess that's what keeps me going, because, you know, I never want to stop. I want to keep on reaching for something new.
You think about Demolition, though. 3 guys, Axe, Smash, Crush. They probably, in my opinion, I never thought about this till now, opened the door for people like The New Day, having a trio. Even, speaking of Matt Taven, The Kingdom. I mean, they have, what does Ring of Honor have had? They have the 6-man tag title, I believe, right? And I think they just won it back this past weekend.
Yeah, they won it for the 3rd time now. And even if you date back to WCW, you know, I mean, that's where the whole Freebird rule came from.
Yep.
You know, when you had the 3 guys, you know, with the tag team titles. And not to be confused, by the way, with the current situation, my tag team title is a gift. I got a gift from the King Brian. He handed me his championship. And that right there, to me, means more than the 2 championships that I won with Keith Youngblood, just so you guys know. But Demolition, you know, at least on the national level during that time, yes, you know, it opened the door for that because they were doing the same thing. You know, they had the titles, and it would be whichever 2 you got that night. So pretty cool concept. And then, you know, like you said, the New Day has done it, and I'm sure some other teams have done it as well. A little different with the Kingdom because they're the 6-man tag team champions. I mean, that really never became a thing through the 80s and 90s, besides maybe WCW for a little bit, because I know they had the 6-man tag titles for a while. But you're right. You know, I feel like Demolition opened the door for a lot of things. And it's funny because they were WWE's version of the Road Warriors, you know, and then when the Road Warriors finally came over, they kind of went to the wayside. But I don't think people realize, like, how big of a deal they were at that time and what they did.
So yeah, I remember being in the Newburgh Mall, going to the Newburgh Mall when I was a kid, and I met Demolition Axe. He was with Cousin Luke, and they did an autograph sign in center court. It was like the 2nd set of wrestlers I met. So definitely cool guy to meet.
Yeah, no, I think that would have been a great rivalry to watch had they done it. Like a little feud with Demolition and the actual Road Warriors in WWE.
Yeah.
I felt like that could have been really cool.
You know, I think it felt like at the time they were going to start it, and then it just, you know, pretty much unfolded into absolutely nothing, you know, and then they were gone. So it was something that probably should have happened, and it would have been great, but whatever did happen, it was very short-lived, and it was over quick, you know?
Yeah. And they're one of those tag teams that you still see at shows sometimes. Like, I saw them, Big Time Wrestling years ago, did a show at Citi Field, and they wrestled at that show with the Nasty Boys and a a couple other wrestlers, and it was actually very entertaining.
I think they did one last year. I think it was at Top Rope, you know, they were there. They're still around, which is great. I love it. You know, for me, that's awesome because, again, that's role models right there. And to be honest, that's how I see myself and Lord Anthony right now.
Yeah. Now, question for you. With Northeast Wrestling, all these shows that you are a part of, there's a lot of, where it's old WWE guys, WCW, ECW. They make appearances. They wrestle on the shows, Who's, like, back in the locker room or whether it's in the ring, who is someone great to work with or talk with from, like, one of these live Northeast Wrestling shows, like one of these big names?
Again, I got to go back to Steamboat. Steamboat spent a lot of time with Keith and I, and then he spent a lot of time with me, too. I got some extra time after the show talking to him, and he just gets so into it. And a lot of the time when these guys are around, I try to give them their space, but, if they start talking to you about stuff, you obviously want to listen and take in whatever you can from them. And Steamboat just is an encyclopedia of knowledge, basically. So any chance I've gotten to talk to him has been great, and it's been numerous times, aside from the seminar. So he's definitely the one that sticks out, but everybody's great. There hasn't been anyone that's come through the locker room that I haven't enjoyed talking to or that hasn't been cordial or whatever it is, So everyone's been pretty cool. And it's just a great experience. With Northeast Wrestling, it's something that we get to experience a lot, and you just don't want to take it for granted because it could be taken away from you at any second. You just never know. So you want to make sure that anytime they're around, you get whatever you can from them.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Now, conversation-wise, aside from Steamboat, like, when the guys are in the back, like, say, like, you've had Mysterio, Ryback, a couple of the guys, Flip Gordon, like, in the last year or so, do they, like, watch the matches of the people coming out of the school or who work directly for Northeast Wrestling and, like, talk to you guys after, like, give you pointers or tell you what they enjoyed, things like that? Like, how's that conversation?
I mean, I don't think there's any set thing about that. Some guys will obviously watch. Some guys are busy doing other things.
All right, so we're going to jump into our 10-question showdown. Duke, what we do is we ask some random questions. These random questions are basic questions that allow, like, the Sports Frenzy universe learn a little bit about you outside the ring, things you're into, things of that nature. So we're going to, like, shoot a couple questions to you right now, if that's cool.
That is fine, but I will only answer them if they are approved by my king, King Brian.
Well, we did send the list over. We didn't get a reply. He's been kind of hard for us to reach.
He's not easy to reach. Only the Baron can reach him.
Listen, that's who we got to talk to because we've also tried to get him on the show too, and we can't get the king ever on. So we got to talk to you. We got to talk to the Baron.
The king is a busy guy. They'll get to it when they're ready. Right now,
Gotcha.
We got the Duke. Let's go.
All right. Duke, favorite movie, and this could be more than one movie, like favorite movies that when they're on, you automatically watch it or something that you swear by,
Reservoir Dogs. Basically, give me anything Quentin Tarantino. And it works. I always liked Mr. Blonde from Reservoir Dogs. He cuts the guy's ears off. That's something that I would love to do to somebody. So that always resonated with me. Pulp Fiction, From Dusk Till Dawn, Desperado. Pretty much those movies.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Tarantino has awesome movies.
He does.
All of them.
Favorite song to work out to?
This is kind of an interesting one. I'll basically work out to whoever I'm going to be facing next because that's what gets me pumped and that's what gets me in the right mindset. So whatever tag team it was that we'd be facing next, I get that pumping. I got the adrenaline rush music pumping. Now I'll listen to the Royal Court theme. Aside from that, I'm a classic rock guy, but I'm always in the wrestling mindset. So when it comes to that, I know that's weird. I don't know if other people do that, but I will listen to whoever I'm facing because that's what gets me pumped, gets me ready. But besides that, I only listen to classic rock. I don't like anything else.
And the Duke gave us the Royal Courts theme, so you guys heard it in the opening. That's the Royal Courts theme. That's what they come out to. And I'm not going to lie. Since I first heard it, I've listened to it a couple times. Yeah, I may walk through the house like I'm part of the court. I'm not going to lie.
Don't get too confused because you're not part of the court.
Damn.
That's fine. That's fine. And it is one of the best songs you've ever heard.
Yes, sir. All right, so, Duke, Is there a favorite musician? You mentioned rock, but is there a favorite musician or band that you're into that like you're into all their albums or songs?
Floyd and Zeppelin.
Okay.
Those are the top two. Absolutely. By far. Doesn't even come close. Maybe Dire Straits, but Floyd and Zeppelin top two. Definitely.
Favorite show to binge watch?
Criminal Minds. Again,
yeah.
Nothing else even comes close. I'm not much of a TV guy. I generally only watch sports, watch wrestling, watch sports, that's it. You know, I'll watch the sports shows on ESPN, SNY, those channels, but if it's a regular TV show, Criminal Minds.
Sorry, I
But
lost my
just
spot.
so you know, the Duke lately does not have that much time for TV. The
Got you.
Duke is busy answering to the King, answering to the Baron, and getting ready for Keith Youngblood.
So, favorite wrestler growing up, like your main guy?
I mean, but again, we're going back. It's Demolition. You know,
Okay.
I mean, if we're talking a singles wrestler, I guess like I was saying earlier, probably Mr. Perfect. You know, I mean, it's tough to say because so many guys had so many different things about them that, you know, especially growing up, you wanted to be just like. But those would be the guys that I would say.
If you could have one dream match against anybody, any era, singles or tag, what would it be?
Any era.
All right.
I think it would have to be actually Dink the Clown because I've always wanted to danger punch a midget.
Yes. That's awesome.
Nice.
I think that's exactly who it would want to be, or who I would want it to be.
All right. Best opponent you've ever worked with?
Best opponent I've ever worked with. That's tough because I generally don't like them. You know what? It's the Battle Brothers. It's definitely the Battle Brothers. They always gave us our toughest challenge. We didn't win many of those matches. We won the last one. And that's why, you know, I'm kind of glad that I team with Lord Anthony now. And he's definitely the better of the two battles. You know, I feel bad because Chris is probably home, drawing his feelings somewhere. He's a great artist, you know, so he's probably sitting there, drawing himself crying because Lord Anthony has picked me as his new tag team partner.
That's awesome.
Now, your first pay-per-view you ever watched? First wrestling pay-per-view.
First pay-per-view I ever watched was actually somebody's VHS tape a few years later, but it was WrestleMania 3, which was awesome. It was Detroit, Pontiac Silverdome, something like 97,000 people. It was Hogan and Andre. You know, you couldn't beat that at the time. So, yeah, I had a friend that introduced me to wrestling, and it was a few years later, but he had all the VHS tapes. So, WrestleMania 3 was the first one that I saw, and it's probably still the greatest in my mind to this day. You know, you had, again, like I said, Hogan Andre, Steamboat Savage, and I even remember, like, King Harley Race and Junkyard Dog. You know, good stuff on that show, and that's, again, pretty much what got me into wrestling.
And that was a body slam heard around the world.
Yep.
So, if you could hold one title in any league, any title, what title would you want to hold? Like, what's your goal?
This is a tough question to answer only because the goals I feel like constantly change. If someone had asked me this 5 years ago, I'd probably have completely different answers. I mean, everybody in Northeast Wrestling, of course, wants to be the Northeast Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. I'm actually very happy right now as Northeast Wrestling Tag Team Champion. I take a lot of pride in it. I am one half of the only 3-time tag team champions in Northeast Wrestling, and I think right now, like, my main goal is do what I can to keep this title, defend this title, and become one of, if not the best, tag teams in Northeast Wrestling history. My focus right now is Northeast Wrestling.
Now, Northeast Wrestling Redemption.
This Friday.
This Friday in Poughkeepsie.
Mid-Hudson Civic Center. The history in that building alone
is insane.
Now, before we get into Redemption, let's talk about real quick what happened in Bethany. I want to hear.
That's what I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
I was going to say, all tag teams face a certain point. Mm-hmm. Keith Youngblood had his thoughts on this. I am one of the guys that back in the day, the Rockers were doing their thing. You had Shawn Michaels, separate himself, and it kind of feels like this is where the Duke went. Tell us your thoughts, Duke.
Let me jump in here. I've actually heard a lot about this and that analogy quite a bit over the past few weeks, and everybody has decided to label Keith Youngblood the HBK of Adrenaline Rush. And, you know, that whole thing just bothers me. Like, not every tag team will parallel the Rockers. And I think that actually started in the mid-'90s when tag team wrestling kind of fell by the wayside, you know, until everything became Dudley's and Hardy's and Edge and Christian. It started to make a little bit of a resurgence, and obviously to where it is today. But, you know, everyone likes to parallel it to that, and they're going to pick, well, this guy's going to be the star, this guy's going to fade away. I got news for everybody. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be around for a very long time. So for the people that have decided that I'm the Marty Jannetty of Adrenaline Rush, it's going to be a sad day for them when they realize that isn't true. I'm not saying Keith Youngblood's the Marty Jannetty, and obviously no one's going to agree with that because everybody's drinking the Keith Youngblood Kool-Aid lately. But the whole thing is with him, he got selfish. He got greedy. Everything had to be about Keith Youngblood. Listen, from the second that our music hit, it was Welcome to the Danger Zone. Whose voice was it? Keith Youngblood. To the second we would win, who would win the match? Keith Youngblood. It always had to be Keith Youngblood. And I listened to his podcast that he did with you guys. If you go back to that, when he talks about the ladder match that we had where we won our titles for the first time, what did he say? He said he grabbed the titles from wherever they were hanging. He's the one who pulled them down on the ladder. You know why he was able to do that? Because I sacrificed my body in that match. I took an Arabian facebuster from Hell Collins. I took a coast-to-coast from Hell Collins with a ladder, and I got walloped in the head with a trash can by TK O'Ryan, who happens to be a Division I baseball player, or was. So I took a beating in that match. Keith Youngblood did not go through the same thing. Keith Youngblood weaseled away from everything just so he could climb that ladder, grab those titles, and decide that he was the Northeast Wrestling Tag Team Champions instead of us. And that's the problem with him. It's always been about him.
In Bethany, what exactly happened in your eyes? Like, how did it all go down?
We got Keith's story. Now let's hear the truth.
All right, well, we're coming down to the ring. And honestly, we were at our highest point, I think, when we came out. I mean, the Bethany crowd took to Adrenaline Rush, and it just kept going up and up and up and up. From when we debuted in June of 2016, it never went backwards. Like, everything was going up for us, and it was great. So we come out, and I'm telling you, I think we got the biggest ovation that we ever got from the Bethany crowd for this match, which was just great. So anyway, the match begins. We're fighting. I hurt my knee. I go down. This selfish, greedy punk decides, instead of calling it off, that he's going to wrestle the match 2-on-1. The big hero, Keith Youngblood, has decided he's going to take it up on himself while I'm laying on the floor. I can't do anything. He takes it upon himself to wrestle the match himself, and what happens? He loses because he let his ego get the best of him, and that is how he betrayed me. So I decided it was time to take matters into my own hands, and I knocked him out.
And I want to throw out a fun fact there. The top 500 wrestlers were recently released. Okay? We got Keith Youngblood at 492. But we got the Duke, Daniel Evans, 486.
See, that's what people don't understand, and they don't realize. They think he is one step ahead of me. That's not the case. I've always been one step ahead of Keith Youngblood. I will always continue to be one step ahead of Keith Youngblood. And that's the proof right there. That's why I came in at 486 and he came in at 492.
I just want to see, Duke, if we can, I wanted to run through these matches just because this will be the last interview that people hear before Redemption. Before we get into the next Northeast wrestling show, which is when you'll feed Keith Youngblood, I want to see, would you be all right with throwing your predictions with us for this Friday show?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So we got the women's match. Kate Forbes versus Karen Q. Who are you going for with that one?
I'm gonna go with Karen Q. I've watched Karen Q develop over the years, training with Damian Adams, and she's gotten a lot better, I feel like, and she's become a mainstay in Northeast Wrestling. I see her taking this one.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with her too because I also watched her on the Mae Young Classic, and she did pretty well on the Mae Young Classic. She's been on for 2 years now. Mm-hmm. So
I'm going to go with Karen Q as well on that. She'd be a great fit in the Royal Court. That's just me personally. But I don't make those decisions. The King makes those decisions.
Yeah. The King needs to start checking her out, I guess.
Now the King will do what he wants to do. You don't have to worry about what the King does.
Now we've got the grab for the gold.
We got Casanova. We got the Man Scout, JT Dunn, Wrecking Ball Legursky, Hale Collins, and your old tag team partner, Keith Youngblood.
Well, honestly, all they have to do is shine a spotlight on the top of the ladder, and no one will go up into that spotlight faster than Keith Youngblood. I can guarantee you that one. But honestly, I think I don't know. I can't envision Wrecking Ball climbing up the ladder and doing that. I think Hale Collins comes away with it in his own home. I don't like it, but I think he wins it.
Which, fun fact, he did win the ladder match years ago, Northeast Wrestling in the Civic Center. So this will be another ladder match for Hale Collins in Poughkeepsie. So that's who I'm going for, too. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I've watched Hale Collins for years. My son's watched Hale Collins. I know a lot of people who've watched him. So I'm backing him in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Hale as well.
All right. So Jack Swagger versus RVD.
I'll have to go with Swagger. Recently been our champion, and I feel like he's, other than the loss to Bacon, I feel like he's been on a roll all summer. So, it's great that RVD is here. It's awesome. But I think Swagger pulls that one out.
I'm going to go with RVD. I'm an old school ECW fan, so I have to go with my guy.
I'm going to go with Swagger on this one. We met him once up in Albany.
Oh, in Albany for Raw that time. That was
very nice guy. I'd like to see the All-American takedown. Championship match with Big Bacon versus PCO.
That's, another tough one because PCO is like an enigma. It's great to see what he's doing, that he's back and he's active and it's a regular thing. It's pretty awesome. I'll have to go with Big Bacon. I think he takes this as well. I think he retains the title.
I'm going with Big Bacon as well. That's going to be my vote.
Yeah, I can see Big Bacon returning as champion.
All right, so we got Darby Allin versus Pentagon Jr.
Man, honestly, I don't know in this one. That one might be even too fast for me to even understand what's going on. Those guys are so good. It's unbelievable. I really can't pick in that one, and I'm not going to.
All right. I'm going to go Pentagon.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Pentagon as well on that one.
All right.
Before we get to the main event, we did not miss this match.
We're not missing it. We're saving it for last.
We're saving it for last, so we don't want the Duke to get upset at us.
We would never forget the King. We're saving the best for last.
Yes.
That's fine. You guys do it however you want.
All right, so the main event, Rey Fenix versus Kenny Omega. Duke, who do you got?
I'm going Kenny Omega. How can you not?
Yeah.
Number one wrestler on the PWI this year, and it's just so amazing that he's here. And let me just throw it in. This is what Northeast Wrestling does. This is what Northeast Wrestling makes, what makes it so good. They always deliver. Always. Doesn't matter what show it is, and that's why you can never miss a show. Northeast Wrestling always delivers.
They do. As soon as they announced Kenny Omega, I said to Freddie that night, I was like, we're getting that meet and greet. We got to get that. So, who are you going with in that match? I'm Omega.
Go with Kenny Omega.
We're all Omega. Yeah. All right. And last but not least, King Brian Anthony versus Jerry the King Lawler. No disqualification match. This match was actually, I believe, supposed to happen at Wrestling Under the Stars, but we had the unfortunate events in Jerry Lawler's life. But we're getting this match now since... What happened, Duke? Was it David Arquette chickened out? How'd that go down?
David Arquette is the Hollywood chicken. He wants nothing to do with the King. And you know what? The King pinned him. The King already beat him, and the King really shouldn't have to face him again. The King was willing to, and the Hollywood Chicken did what he does best, and he chickened right out of the match. So in comes the false King, Jerry Lawler. King Brian already beat Jerry the King Lawler. And again, he shouldn't have to do it again, but you know what? He will. And that's how gracious of a king King Brian is. Let's all say it together. King Brian?
King Brian? So, are you going to be coming out for that match possibly? Will you be accompanying the King down to the ring?
I will be doing whatever the King and the Baron tell me to do.
Sounds good. I'm going to go with King Brian for that one too. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the King. We will be there right at the stage, hoping that the King graces us with his presence.
Yeah, if not Duke, you got to shout us out at least, right?
What's that?
You're going to shout us out by the entranceway when you first come out, right? We'll be right there on the left.
I will, again, do what the King asks me to do.
Now, we want all you guys to check it out on High Spot Wrestling Network.
$9.99.
Yeah.
And this show is going to be live.
Yep.
A lot of these shows on this network, from what I understand, it's like the WWE Network where you could see a lot of old content and stuff, but they're going live for this one. They know how serious, how great this show is going to be. So they are going live. So if you guys subscribe, you can watch it. There are still very limited tickets available at the Civic Center. So if you have not gotten your tickets and you're in the area, get your ass to the box office, get them on online, and get to the show. It's a show not to miss.
I mean, honestly, like, this is going to be the Northeast Wrestling show. This is going to be the biggest show in Northeast Wrestling history. And it's crazy to say that with how many other great shows we've had. Like, if you look at Northeast Wrestling over the years, you know, even the years that I've been there, you know, we had one stadium show, and it's developed into a stadium tour. You know, we had a full summer of shows this year where I think we might have had, like, a weekend off. You know, and it's just been so amazing. And to think of everything we've done so far, and that this is going to blow it out of the water. This is going to be the most amazing show put on by Northeast Wrestling yet. So, yeah, if you can't make it, then get the network. And at least with the network, you can watch the old stuff as well. But if you can be there live, like, this is not something to miss. And again, that's why when they say never miss a show with Northeast Wrestling, never miss a show.
Now, real quick before we get your final thoughts, we're going to move on to Autumn Ambush real quick. I'm just going to throw the matches out there. We got Maxwell Jacob Freeman versus Big Bacon Brad Hollister. We got Hammer Tunis versus Christian Casanova. Carissa Rivera in action. Who else we got here? Josh Briggs versus JT Dunn versus Mike Verna. Thrill Ride Jimmy Preston versus Wrecking Ball Legursky. Insanely Rude versus Private Party. King Brian versus Joey Ryan, which I'm not going to lie, I want to see that one. That'd be a
good one.
It's going to be great to watch the King take that lollipop and stuff it right in Joey Ryan's mouth.
And then we got Keith Youngblood versus the Duke of Danger, Daniel Evans, in a no-holds-barred street fight. Duke, what's your opinion on this match? I mean, where are you at?
All right, while you were running down the card, I got to tell you, Autumn Ambush, this is all I can think about is Keith Youngblood. This is going to be a fight, just like he said. You know, he said he's going to show a different side of himself, something that I haven't seen before. And to me, I wonder if that's his front side, because I never saw it standing behind him all the time. I had to stand in his shadow. Let me explain. I am going to beat the piss out of Keith Youngblood. Everybody has decided he's the next one. He's the big future star of Northeast Wrestling. Everybody has decided to overlook me.
I'm really feeling bad for Keith right now.
I cannot wait to see this match.
This match is going to be insane. All right, guys, we've just had a great interview that we have to thank the King for
Thank you,
allowing
King
the
Brian.
Duke to
Yes,
jump
thank
on
the
here
king
with us.
right now. Thank
for
the king.
allowing.
Thank you, King
Yes.
Brian,
Thank you,
for
King.
allowing the Duke to join us tonight. Duke, this has been an awesome interview.
Yes, we have thoroughly enjoyed it.
Guys,
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. You know, it was good to discuss some of this stuff. And again, I feel bad. I actually feel bad for the Northeast Wrestling fans because they're putting their heart and soul into Keith Youngblood, and the only thing that he's going to do is let them down. Just like he let me down, just like he lets everybody down, he's going to let them down. I feel terrible about it, and maybe, just maybe, the Royal Court will hear them after it's all over. Maybe the Royal Court will say, we forgive you, but probably not. They shouldn't have turned their back on me, and they shouldn't have turned their back on King Brian. Do you know what King Brian did for this company? Do you understand that he is a 3-time Northeast Wrestling champion, and as the Baron says, his longest reign was 1,052 glorious days? Do you know what they did? They booed him. He poured his heart out for these fans. It's the same thing that they're doing for me because we hold everything now. We are the tag team champions. He is the king. We are the Royal Court.
well, Duke, I don't want you to get it twisted. When we see you guys Friday night and in Bethany, I'll be bowing down to all of you guys. We got your back.
That's right.
We
You
are
will.
with you guys.
And everybody will. Everybody should.
All right, guys, this Friday, Northeast Wrestling Redemption, Mid-Hudson Civic Center. Tickets still available, and you could watch it live
Limited
online.
tickets.
Yeah, not
Still
many
available.
tickets
Not
are
many
available.
tickets. We saw
They
the
are
same
getting
show.
very low.
And
then
if
we
they
got-
don't bow down to the king, he will strike upon them with swift justice.
Yes. And then we got December, November 17th, up in Bethany, when the Duke and Keith Youngblood go at it one-on-one, street fight, no DQ. It's going to be insane.
We can't wait. So we want to thank you guys for listening. Find us on social media. You guys know the hashtags, the handles, Sports Frenzy Podcast.
Instagram, StevieG1218. Duke, do you want to throw your Instagram out there for us?
It is the Duke of Danger. Every social media, the Duke of Danger.
Guys, look him up. Follow him. It is worth the follow, guaranteed.
Definitely. Duke, thank you very much for your time. And we will see you Friday evening at the Civic Center.
And we can't wait.
Yes, you
Let's
will.
go, guys. Northeast Wrestling Redemption.
Join the frenzy, guys.
Later.